Welcome to Techstination. Joining us is Bryan O'Neill Hughes, Director of Product Management at Adobe. Thank you for joining us, Bryan.
Thanks for having me, Fred.
Well, Adobe had its Adobe Max going on this month, and of course, what you were talking about are updates to the Creative Cloud, all the different applications, and I'll let you get into some of the highlights for us. What's to come here?
Yeah, sure. It was our biggest Max to date, so there is a lot. There were updates that folks have been asking for with our desktop products, things they've been asking for decades. I mean, I go way back as a product manager on Photoshop, and there were updates to Photoshop that people have wanted forever. So a lot of that sort of stuff, as you would expect. Some huge updates to things like XD, showing how we're tying in with voice-driven design and really honoring that. There was a sort of a lens into the future with Project Arrow, where we were showing how we can make augmented reality really achievable, and not needing to know how to code to do that, but really speaking to people through the words of designers. And then there was stuff that I don't think anyone ever expected, a lot of what we're doing on the iPad. So we released Project Rush, which is our new multi-screen video editing tool. And we had talked about that before. What I don't think folks saw coming was full-blown real Photoshop on the iPad and an application called Project Gemini, also on the iPad. So there were some really exciting updates, and then there were things that I don't think anyone knew was going to happen.
Well, tell us, this is really exciting what you're doing with the iPad and opening that up to people. What is the experience going to be like? Describe it for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think experience is what it's all about on the iPad. So in the case of something like Photoshop, very established product, been around for nearly 3 decades. People love it, but I think the opportunity in bringing it to the iPad is to really adapt and enhance the experience so that people who are aware of Photoshop but maybe don't know how to use it have an opportunity to do that. I think there's a real opportunity to not sacrifice any of the power, but make it a lot more approachable. And so, we're really, really excited about that. And you see a lot of that in the demonstration that we showed, really just first steps in how the touch environment can be much, much friendlier.
That's exciting. And Project Gemini, to those of us of a certain age, we think of NASA when we hear that.
Right.
So,
You're not the first person to mention that. The reference on the code name goes back to twins. The constellation, and the reason that we named it that is because we've had these 2 applications for drawing and painting called Photoshop Sketch and Illustrator Draw. One's a raster painting and drawing app, the other is a vector app. And with Gemini, because we have such incredible hardware now, especially with Apple Pencil, we wanted to really take it up a notch and deliver a pro-grade solution. So we're bringing vector and raster together for the first time in a focused Adobe application for drawing and painting. We're bringing in a bunch of sneaks technology, things you've only seen in Max Sneaks, oil paint simulation, watercolor simulation, things that have never existed in any product before. And then being a newer application, being a living in a post-CC world, these are cloud native. They're deeply integrated with our desktop tools. And we think that drawing and painting is one of the most exciting spaces for the iPad.
and of course, all of this is going to be available for subscribers to the Creative Cloud.
Right. So in the case of both Photoshop and Gemini, we didn't give a lot of information in terms of exactly when it was coming. We said it was coming in 2019, and we haven't discussed how we're going to gate who gets to use it. But I will tell you that in the case of Photoshop, we've made a very clear declarative statement that this is the Photoshop that you know and love. And that we see bringing it to another screen, much as we have with Lightroom. I think that's probably your best example with these of where we'd like to go. Is we realize that people don't do all of their work at the desk, and in some cases, the workflow lends itself better to touch or stylus-enabled devices. So, as far as pricing and things like that go, while we haven't shared that, I would look to what we've done in the recent past with some other projects.
Well, some of us who work with sound here would encourage you to bring Adobe Audition onto that platform too, but I guess that's for another day.
Duly noted. I have some close friends on those teams, and I will absolutely share your enthusiasm for that with them. I think that the world that we live in, people are not on any one device, so we really do need to be mindful of having solutions wherever our customers are.
Well, tell us more about Premiere Rush, CC, and describe the experience for us there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great example of tools that aren't compromised as you move between screens. So we showed Rush on the Mac. We showed it on iOS, on the phone, and on the iPad. Works Windows desktop as well. The idea here is to take some of the incredible power that we have in Premiere and even in After Effects when it comes to motion graphics. So I think a recurring theme through all of these is powerful enough for professionals, easy enough for everyone. And the folks that we're really thinking about with these with the video tools are the online content creators, people who have YouTube channels, people who are producing a lot of content, who move between screens all the time and need to be able to create and edit powerfully, quickly from anywhere. So having powerful presets for text and animations and color, but then also being able to go under the hood and adjust all of the parameters of those. And I think this is probably the biggest part, making sure that the content itself is always accessible, which means a cloud-first workflow. And I think access with video is probably the biggest problem to solve.
If you had to encapsulate all these changes and what Adobe is focused on with the new versions of Creative Cloud, how would you do that?
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to keep it short, but I'll give you kind of a long answer. I would say whether it's the desktop applications, the mobile apps, the systems, or the services that intertwine them, we're always looking, and I think this was a unifying theme throughout the show, to make things faster, smarter, and more powerful so that you can be more creative.
Great stuff. And of course, there's a lot more at adobe.com that people can find. Bryan O'Neill Hughes, thank you for taking the time with us.
Thanks again, Fred.